Hello, everybody. Good midday. It is noon in Sarasota, Florida, and I'm coming to you live. This is John George with John George Ministries. I wanted to share with you all in just 1 minute while I get something started here. I want to encourage you guys to go ahead and comment on this broadcast if you're watching live. Just let me know you're out there. I want to share with you something that is very relevant to the current time that we're in right now. Okay, thanks for the comments. Wonderful. All right, welcome Julia from YouTube, Lewis from YouTube, and Tina from YouTube. Where are my Facebook peeps? Let me go ahead and pull up the Facebook feed as well. So the title of this video is I was just talking to a mom. We had our weekly online deliverance service on Tuesday evening. One of the things that I want to share about the process of deliverance is the stirring. The stirring is the part of deliverance where, as you are ministering deliverance to someone, the process of deliverance is bringing the impurities to the surface, just as we know from the how gold is purified aspect. And the way that this works is through the ministry of deliverance. It causes those things that are, laying underneath in the hidden places, in the deep places, to be brought up and out, right? But to be brought up for the purpose of bringing them out. Now, what can happen through this process, ladies and gentlemen, is there can be what I refer to as the stirring. When an individual is under-delivered, okay? Why is this not working? When an individual is under-delivered, what ends up happening is, first of all, I just want to say you can be delivered and under-delivered at the same time. What I mean by that is the stronghold that is being pulled down is being torn down in a way where the kingdom, per se, of the enemy that's attached to a person's life is being destroyed. And as that begins to come out of a person, there can be the remains that are left, that are under-delivered. And so when that happens, there can be the process that we refer to as the stirring, where those things are still at the surface. Now, we had a young man, a teenager, on the weekly deliverance service. There's the link right there displayed on the screen. That is not a clickable link, but you can visit that website register for our online deliverance service. And what ends up happening during the ministry of deliverance through this process of the stirring is that, again, while that stuff is being brought up, I just want to try to do my best to illustrate this. While that stuff is being brought up and the dross is being scraped off the top, there's still more coming up and more coming up. And then you continue to scrape through the ministry of deliverance. And then what can remain when, let's say, you break the service? Let's say you're like, okay, this is all we're doing for today. Come and see us next week. Well, that's what we do. And so what ends up happening is for the next day or two, sometimes a few days, not very common, but can happen, there can be those impurities that are still kind of at the surface. And the person can feel, all sorts of things, irritable. They can have a rough night sleeping. They can just feel kind of, not like themselves or whatever, or just intensified even. Never has it ever been too much for the Lord. Never. Because it is the Lord's process. Never has it ever been too much for the person to where it was just overwhelming and they couldn't handle it. Never has it ever gotten that way. And so I wanted to emphasize that so that we understand that this is something that, it's just part of the process, and it's not going to go outside of what is the bounds of safety, right? Because it's the Lord's process, and that which he began, he will be faithful to complete, right? According to the word. So the reason I'm saying this is because I had a mother contact me. This mother contacted me and mentioned that her son, who was on the weekly deliverance call on Tuesday night, has been feeling pretty stirred up. He had a rough night. She told me this the next day. Now, I don't know if she knew about the stirring or not, but I told her, I said, listen, this is normal. And, I said, basically, just normally it takes a couple of days sometimes for things to calm back down. But once they do, the person then begins to notice the areas in their life where they're experiencing the breakthrough that was a result of the ministry session that they had that even got this stuff stirred up, and some of it, most of it, whatever degree of it that was removed after that stirring. Remember those things that come up to the surface after they just kind of calm down. And yes, they do go back down sometimes, whatever's remaining. But what's left is so much less. What's left is so much less than what was there before the ministry of deliverance. And this mother began to share with me some of the things that her son was experiencing. He ended up finding online what the best way he can describe it. And what the son found was that he felt like he was going through a process of derealization. This is what he found for her. This is what she sent me. If your child or teen comes to you describing what appears to be derealization, it's important you remain calm and attentive to his or her experience. Start by providing some empathy for what must be a scary experience, followed by a provision of information about what derealization is and it is not. It may help your child feel less crazy if they learn that derealization is a common symptom of a panic attack, extreme stress, anxiety. It's not dangerous or indicative of some underlying grave illness. Some teens worry that sensations might mean that they have schizophrenia or are psychotic. While derealization feels very strange and unsettling, the individual does not lose touch with reality, and he's able to recognize what their sensations are versus actual events that are happening. The key distinction between derealization and other well, anyway, so this is basically what he was experiencing. And what ended up happening is he had been experiencing a lot of anxiety. He had been experiencing derealization. And the mother had been sorry, I lost my train of thought. The mother had contacted me the next morning after the deliverance service asking if I could minister to him because, he had had a rough night. He wasn't feeling right, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, listen, your son exhibited the manifestations of deliverance. For those who were on the call when we had the online service, there was, about 100 people on the call who potentially witnessed what he was going through. And he was indeed, as I began to focus the camera on him and began to call him out by name specifically because the Lord began to highlight him, he then began to break, or the strongholds began to break. He began to just from the depths of him, just began to weep, and then began to break out into just kind of this rocking motion, and then sounds and different things that happened during the ministry of deliverance. And this went on for some time as the stronghold was breaking, as I was continued to go through the corporate mass deliverance. Now, again, she called me the next morning, and she said that this was happening, and then asked, what can she do? And I said, well, this normally subsides after a couple of days. And then what ends up happening is she messaged me back and she said, well, actually, he did say that the anxiety's gone, but he still feels kind of out of touch. And so I said, well, okay, this is confirmation. So then you should know that what I'm telling you is accurate, because I told you before you told me that this is normally the process of what happens. And in fact, it's always the process of what happens. It never fails. God never leaves anybody in a stuck position, where that which is stirred up remains, or, what have you. Sometimes after the stirring, the person may or may not notice the freedom just yet on the first bout of deliverance. Sometimes it takes the second or third, where you're just continuing to pummel that stronghold. And so sure enough, the anxiety is gone and he's experiencing still a little bit of the derealization. But the good news is that he's already showing signs of the breakthrough. Now, I said, so this is good news. Just join us on Tuesday, right? Join us on Tuesday. This is a registration-only event. You've got to register. So she says, okay, we'll see you Tuesday. She says, is there anything that I can do in the meantime? And I said, in the meantime, just be encouraged. I said, because number one, he now, and encourage your son, because he now knows that this is a demonic spirit, because the way he clearly manifested deliverance in response to the ministry time. So we know this is spiritually rooted. Number two, you can tell him that I shared with you how this process works, and that I even described that a lot of these things normally die down after the first couple of days. which he already testified the anxiety seems to be even better. So you can share with him, hey, trust the process. I said, and third, I want to tell you, thirdly, that you guys need to understand that you are extremely blessed, because many families, many children, many parents are out there experiencing these types of things, but yet they don't necessarily have a deliverance ministry that they can connect with in the manner in which you guys are able to do. So thank God, be thankful for what he's doing. This is a clear demonstration that he's looking out for your family. This was a young lady that ended up connecting with somebody that connected with our ministry and came down to our weekly service just herself. And now when she knew that her son was going through some things, she brought him on our call last week where we did the mass deliverance, and that's where he began to go through deliverance. And I want to just tell you that the reason I'm getting on here right now is to recognize and honor the time that we are in, the season that we are in. Right now, with everything that's going on, it's caused us to shut down our on-location services in order to bring this onto the platform that is now making this available for people who did not have this available before, because we were only doing it in person. Now that we're doing this online, this is an opportunity that you don't want to miss. We have people who are bringing their children. You know, we had a testimony that I just shared about this mother whose daughter had diagnosed with pandas and POTS and all of these different disorders. She was taken away by police to a mental hospital some 3 times a week. You know, she had anxiety and OCD. She would tap on things, you know, just constantly. She would, you know, say that the world was coming to an end, and that just crazy stuff, and, you know, be harmful to herself and to her family. You know, just a crazy situation. She was on 30 pills, including supplements a day, because of this, you know, streptococculatus or whatever you call that, which is part of pandas, inflammation of the brain, all these different things. And because she connected with our Canada host and ended up receiving ministry and prayer and deliverance, all of these things are gone. Now the whole family's saved because they didn't even know Jesus before. They knew New Age, they knew energy healing, they knew universe, the power and the energy of the universe, all these crazy New Age stuff. And it was just only making the things worse. Reiki, now they're all saved. The family is rejoicing because Jesus completely put their lives together, where, you know, the devil was trying to offer them his repair, but it was only complicating matters. And, you know, I'm just telling you that we have an opportunity here. If you know someone, now's the time to get them on the call. It's Tuesday. Sign up for our online deliverance service. Get delivered. And, you know, if you don't know if it's demonic, then get on. We'll show you if it's demonic. You know, we can't always necessarily show you that it's not, but we can definitely show you that it is, because when people begin to manifest demons, it's pretty clear. But just because people don't manifest doesn't mean it's still not spiritual, because we have seen so many times where people begin to go through deliverance on like the 3rd or 4th time sometimes. So keep this in mind. I wanted to share this with you guys. This is just a phenomenal opportunity. You know, this mother with her son is going to be on the call on Tuesday. I encourage you to get on. We want to be sure to, you know, make this available. We have room for over 100 people now, so we've upgraded that plan. And I believe we're going to just see another tremendous service where people are able to receive help, freedom and breakthrough in areas where they didn't know they needed. This was a mother whose son, you know, just needed some help. And With everything going on right now, we are in a time when a lot of things aren't even necessarily as readily available as they were. So I encourage you, come on, join the online deliverance service, invite your friends, share this video, literally share this video on your Facebook pages, and just explain to people, number one, if you want to see something that you've probably never seen before, sign on. If you need help in any area of life and you just have tried everything, even if you're a Christian, sign on. If you got a kid who's experiencing some problems and you have exhausted your everything to give them the help that you want them to have, then jump on. And if you yourself are needing breakthrough in any area of your life, then jump on. I mean, all of these different things we're talking. There's so many hot buttons that you can provide people to encourage them to get on. So we're going to make this available again on Tuesday. Really looking forward to seeing you guys on. Bless you.